So the majority of these people are public defenders, and they got 30 or more cases in front of them. And the easiest way out is just to stamp it guilty. And it's a shame to say that. But anyway, CC Anderson, Atlanta. Thank you.
Are you going to carry on facilitating, CC? I know Teresa's joining us now.
Oh,
George, have you started the recording?
Yes.
Why? Usually you started long after.
CC was checking in. She started checking in. I didn't want to miss who was on the call.
So you had started the meeting?
Yes.
Why?
It was after 2. CC was here. That's why. Last time when it was after the hour, you weren't here, but CC was. You were very upset that we had not started the meeting.
Well, let me say this to you, George, since we're going through this very stormy time. When you know I'm coming to the meeting and it's only a minute after two, the start time, don't start the meeting. CC is no longer co-chair. I'm the only chair. And I'm glad this is being recorded because, George, it's just so frustrating what's going on right now. So let me just say this to everybody else who decided to join this meeting. CC, she's gone. She didn't want to deal with it. So can we start the meeting with the board members who are on the call? So we'll go with Philip Cole, then George Friday, then Diane Blay, and Joan Goddard. Philip Cole, would you please introduce yourself and tell us one good thing that's going on this Easter Monday for you? Philip Cole.
This is Philip Cole. I'm checking in from San Francisco, and I'm a member of the San Francisco branch. And basically, I woke up and I was able to see my fingers and toes. That's the one good thing.
We could use that comic relief. George Friday.
Greetings. Good afternoon. I'm George Friday. I'm in Shelby, North Carolina in the Southern Piedmont branch and doing fairly well. I want to show you my one good thing. My sister and niece got me this gorgeous purple plant of tulips for the holidays, and it's really brightened up my day. Thank you.
Oh, that is beautiful. That is beautiful. Diane Blay, please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Diane Blay from Fairfax, Virginia. I have an article here from the Washington Post called "In Prison, My Brother Isn't Allowed to Read His Own Words." But anyway, did you want something good today? It stopped raining.
Oh, it was raining in Virginia?
It was pouring. It seems like it rains every day. Oh.
Wow.
But anyway.
Joan Goddard.
Sorry, didn't unmute there. Yeah, I think you may have given the impression, Teresa, that I'm still on the board, and I'm not. But anyway, Joan Goddard in San Jose, California, and my one good thing is hearing from Diane that it stopped raining because I have relatives in Virginia. Otherwise, it's fine here. Thank you.
Well, Joan, I have not made any mistakes so far. I was very clear that Philip Cole and George Friday are the only board members. Diane Blay was board secretary. She's no longer board secretary. You're no longer on the board, and I'm very clear about that.
Sorry, I misunderstood.
Yeah, there was never any impression that I gave that you were still on the board. I know full well you are no longer on the board. Well,
Right.
let me say this about today's meeting and what we had planned to do. It's very important that we do this work state by state. So I think I may have mentioned it in another setting, but George also knows that this month was going to be Georgia month. The state legislature just ended on last Thursday, I think, and people are still sorting out the good, the bad, and the ugly. And we had 2 invitations out to 2 organizations. EMI Georgia, which is working on juvenile justice, and there were quite a few bills, and they said they might be able to come. Walisha Wilson, working with her lawyers in the Southern Center for Human Rights, they're too busy working on some death penalty cases, as well as their solitary confinement project. It's a lot of folks being killed in the South. There's somebody was killed last week in Georgia. There was somebody killed a week before that in Alabama. So in terms of what we have to do, George, in the role of SARN in our jurisdiction, is really start paying closer attention to the death penalty cases, because it's just a matter of time before North Carolina will start killing people again. And North Carolina at one time killed a lot of people. So what I hope we could talk about today is a little bit more strategy about how we deal with the next 9 months. So we can come up with a strategy over the next 9 months where we can get at least 9 branches to say that they're working on ending mass incarceration and the death penalty in their states. And lucky Diane, she's in a branch, or she's maybe not active, but there is a branch that also covers Virginia, and that's the DMV branch. And George Kim Poole talked to me yesterday, and she said she didn't have the Zoom link, and to make sure that you send it to her. So I had sent you a message earlier saying to send Kim the Zoom link. Were you able to do that?
Yes, I did.
Well, she apparently couldn't get on, I guess, but she and I talked quite a bit yesterday, and she was very clear she was going to get on. And then the announcements, I will announce something a little bit out of order, but it's important for us to know on the international level, because tomorrow morning at 3 a.m. our time on the East Coast, it'll be midnight Phillips time and Jones time. But Wilf International is having an important Zoom. So hope we can get on that. Sorry to be bouncing around, but I do want to hear from all of you, because George agreed to take the next month after Georgia. And so, George, what I'm proposing today is that Georgia does May, and then North Carolina would do June, and then California would do July, and then we could get Vermont to do maybe August. But we'll have someone from the DMV area doing either the District of Columbia, Maryland, or Virginia, because there are people in the DMV branch who live in all those 3 states, the district and the other 2 states. So that's the proposal that I'm making. And so, George, since you were eager to start the meeting. Oh, here's Robin. Great, Robin. Glad you're here. Well, I'll stop to let you introduce yourself since we already called out Vermont. And Cece is back. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, really 7 branches counting Jane Addams. So that's great. Thank you, Robin, for joining. We just did the intro, name, branch, and one good thing. And so I'll start since I didn't do mine yet. I'm Teresa Elamine, Fannie Lou Hamer branch, and also chair of Advancing Human Rights. And my one good thing is today I had a handyman come hang all my pictures that needed hanging, and one of them is the 1995 Beijing flag, and I'll take a picture and put it out at some point. But I was sent that for signing up members, and I have it framed, and it's beautiful. And so all of that was hung by my handyman today, all of my artwork, and I'll take some pictures and send them out at some point. So that's my one good thing. Got a great handyman. So Robin Lloyd and then Cece Anderson on your introductions. Thank you.
Yeah, hi everyone. Sorry to be a bit late. I'm Robin Lloyd, Burlington, Vermont, Wilf. 1.5 good things. There is a city council meeting tonight where we meet the new mayor that we're all excited about. So good news in Burlington. And also I viewed the Fannie Lou Hamer film that was on PBS. I saw just about all of it, and quite incredible. And the fact that her mother, this is the detail that stuck in my mind, her mother had 23 children. You know that, Teresa, is that accurate?
I knew there were a lot because in the South, back in those days, people had lots of children. My aunt in Sparta, Georgia had 13. My mother had 6, but having large numbers of children in Mississippi was fairly common. I didn't realize it was 23 though, but that's huge. Thanks for telling that story. And I'll go on my PBS on my smart TV and I will find it and I'll watch it because I haven't seen that. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, yes. Go ahead.
Thank you. Cece, please. Cece, you left and you came back, so can you talk now? Well, when she is able to talk, we'll let her. She keeps leaving. Cece works at the historic Lincoln Cemetery, where all the Black people in Atlanta are buried, including 5 of my family members, if not 6. I have 2 sisters, my father, my mother, and my brother are all, one of my brothers, all buried at the cemetery where Cece works. So it's not surprising that she would have to be coming and going. There she's back. Oh, Cece, introduce yourself quick before you have to leave. Your name, your branch, and one good thing, Cece. Hopefully it's not an issue with her internet. Well, George, could you please say what your thinking is about when North Carolina would take your month, and if you like the idea?
I think it's a fine idea. June, I'm glad that our meetings are usually the first Monday in June because June is a month when the State Poor People's Campaign is going to be going to DC. But I've been in touch with Decarcerate North Carolina as well as Sangria, who's with the Second Chance Alliance, and another group in North Carolina working on ending the death penalty. I'm trying to remember their name. No More Death Row, that's the name of it. And or
Wow.
that might be their campaign. So those are the two groups I've reached out to, anticipating May, but I'll get back with them and tell them it'll be the beginning of June.
Well, thank you, George. And Diane, your hand is up.
Yes, I just wanted to say that Fannie Lou Hamer was the youngest of 20 children. So there were
So
20,
the 23 number isn't quite right.
but 20, yeah, 20 is. She was the youngest of 20.
Yeah, I didn't realize she was the youngest. Great. Well, thank you, Diane. We love to have accurate information. Could California, since there are two of you here, could you say how you feel about taking the month of July to report on what the update is?
I don't know whether Philip is driving. Are you able to?
Earlier, Philip told us some stuff, Joan, before Teresa came on. But if he
Yes.
can speak, he can say it himself.
There he goes.
Okay, I would not be available in the month of July. I'd be undergoing medical procedures month of July.
Oh, okay. Well, let's go to Vermont. And so we could do July with Vermont. Before you came on, Robin, I had put out the proposal that each state where there's a branch would take a month over these 9 months. And so if Vermont could take July, Georgia is going to take May. I think we'll be able to get someone on the first Monday in May. We had 2 possible organizations lined up who are full chock of information of what we're going to be doing together in Georgia. I'm active with both groups. And George is going to take North Carolina, and maybe she can draw in Mary White and others in North Carolina who are part of Will to participate. I see that Mary White actually registered for the day, but she didn't make it. So Robin, could you speak on Vermont taking July to get some of those wonderful people you know in Vermont?
Yeah, I think that will be hard for me because it's my son's birthday is July 3rd, and as I understand it, the meeting will be Monday, the first Monday of July, which is July 1st. Okay, so it's the one time of the year that I get to see him in Rhode Island. Teresa,
oh, wow.
in Rhode Island, I hope. And will you be there?
Well, that's an excuse to go to Rhode Island. Yeah, I'll be coming off of a very busy June, so I will be doing some R&R, and I'd love to do it in July. And so Rhode Island is my favorite place. Oh, there's Mary White. So we're still moving around here. So
if it was
we'll
later, if it was later in July, I think it would work for me, but that week would be bad.
Oh, okay. Well, let's just go with Georgia and North Carolina for now. And maybe in May, we can figure out if we can have somebody from the DMV or some other branch to take up July. So I think we might be able to get someone from the DMV because Kim is in Maryland, and there's a lot going on in Maryland. And so she will be able to help us maybe with July. So just to help people understand the proposal while we try to get Mary White and CC Anderson to introduce themselves. The Ending Mass Incarceration and the Death Penalty Working Group, of which you are in right now, is planning a monthly state by state. Here's what's happening. And so Georgia is going to take the month of May, and we're going to get guest speakers or a guest speaker on the issue of solitary confinement or juvenile justice in terms of all of the incarcerated youth in Georgia that we've been fighting, trying to raise the age from 17 to 18, but they're trying to lower the age to 15 or 16. So we got a real fight on our hands in Georgia. And then in June, the 1st of June at our meeting, George has agreed to bring on North Carolina activities around the death penalty and ending mass incarceration. So Mary White, since you're here from North Carolina and the Triangle branch, could you please unmute yourself and introduce yourself? I'm just so pleased that we have several branches at this meeting, even though there are what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of us. And I think we have at least 6 or so branches, counting Diane and the Jane Addams, we have 7, I believe. And there's Kim Poole, so we have somebody from the DMV. This just gets better and better. Thank you, Kim Poole. So we have 3 people who need to say your name, your branch, and what good thing has happened for you on this Easter Monday. Mary White, please. So glad you're here.
Good afternoon. I am Mary White, and I am in Durham serving with the Triangle branch, and happy to be with you this afternoon.
Do you have a good thing that's happened for you on this Easter Monday you'd like to share?
Well, I can just say that I am happy to be able to work with the various groups in this area. Some of them are church groups, and some of them are with the North Carolina Medicare for All coalition here, as well as with the Wealth Triangle branch. And we each have various tasks that we are raising as issues to deal with in our communities, reacting to some of the things that promote peace within this area, or some of the things that we have on our list of things that we promote at various times during the year.
Well, Mary White, you are another one of those amazing wealth women. If you don't mind me saying it, over 80 who are still doing the good work. And so it's great that people like you and Robin are here in Wilf. And I got a few more years before I get to where you are. So I just hope to stay strong. So Kim Poole from the DMV branch, please introduce yourself and tell us your one good thing on this Easter Monday. I know you're very busy, so tell us one good thing. I know you got lots of good things going on, but what do you want to share with us today? Kim Poole, please unmute yourself.
Absolutely. Peace and power, everyone. So excited to be here. I guess one good thing this Easter Monday, I'm reminded that Jesus was a revolutionary. And so my steps are ordered by the Lord, and I look forward to following in his footsteps.
Well, you got agreement with me on that. When I go to church and people I say, yeah, Jesus was the first revolutionary. He really was on the cusp of saying to people. We don't want these evils going on. So CC Anderson, are you in a position to introduce yourself?
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Absolutely.
Thank you. I had issues with my phone. CC Anderson, Atlanta Metro Branch, and also the Personnel Chair Committee. One good thing is I am completing one box of vases and dishes that are completely washed and put back. Praise the Lord.
I tell you, you make me feel good because a woman came to help me today unpack boxes, and she was so fast, and we got a lot done. So I still got about 100 boxes to go. But by my birthday, I hope to be unpacked. Well, Cece, since you're there, and we're talking about the states taking on the different months, let's work together on doing May for Georgia, since you and I are both in Georgia. And I do want to ask Mary White to collaborate with George, since both of you are in North Carolina on the ending mass incarceration and the death penalty. Because my strong feeling is that with Roy Cooper gone, whoever comes after him may bring back the death penalty, because there's still a bunch of people on death row. It still exists. So if I could encourage the two of you to work together, since we have multiple people in states, Philip and Joan seem to be working together on this. And so maybe they can take a month down the road when Philip is back in full swing. But we'll figure out who's going to do July when we meet maybe in May. So Kim, on possibly July, since the DMV branch meeting is coming up April 8th, could we get someone from either the district or Maryland to actually report on the state of mass incarceration? So somebody who's living in the district, or possibly you living in Baltimore, can talk about Maryland if you're going to be around the 1st of July, because I do believe that Robin reported that our July meeting will actually be on July 1. July 1 is the first Monday in July. Kim, could you say if you're available to maybe do the Maryland report on?
Certainly, I'll be available. I will be out of the country at that time, but you all meet virtually on Zoom, so I'll be sure that I'm present. I'm also having a meeting with the DMV branch on April 8th, and so I'll bring that to your request to their attendance so that we can talk about how to present and research collectively.
Well, that sounds wonderful. They usually invite me to the branch meetings, so I hope to see you next Monday at the DMV branch meeting. Well, we're at 2:30, and I think we've been fairly productive, given that we have a plan to do the branch by branch thing. And so, George, as program committee chair, is there something you would like to share with us about things related to deepening our work as the Advancing Human Rights Issue Committee?
The only thing I would share is something that's not news to anyone here, but to remember and keep present with people the ongoing human rights crisis in Gaza, pressuring any of your elected officials, if you're in a position to do that, to stop funding to Israel and create every path to restoration for the Palestinian people. Thank you.
Well, I think we can't do a meeting without talking about Gaza. And I'm so glad, George, that you introduced that because George posted the most amazing toolkit. And immediately I used it to put my congressperson on notice that we're coming after him. He has opposition in the election this November. And I'm going to send him, in addition to letting him know that there's a toolkit out there where Code Pink and everybody is going to be involved in making sure we say not our tax dollars. So I'm going to give you back the floor, George, since you posted it to the branches list. If you could just explain the toolkit and how best you think we might use it. I looked at it and it's chocked full of stuff, and I copied the Fannie Lou Hamer branch leaders on it. So we'll be getting together soon to print it out and figure out how we're going to use it. So why don't you say more about what's in it? And if possible, you can put a link to it in the chat to make sure everybody has it. Thank you, George.
Sure. And I will put a link to it in the chat. It's pretty comprehensive. It covers language to use when talking to people and talking points. It has language you can use in letters to your elected officials and what to say to the media. We people with our opinions and point of view and language have not really gotten to the media. The media continues to, for the most part, frame the situation as the U.S. is doing the right thing in continuing to arm Israel. So part of our work is really getting it out there to people and saying, no, it's not okay. And we're not agreeing to this. You do not have our consent to make this happen to these people. There's also memes that you can use. I think that's the right word. And images that you can download to use on your own material. I want to remind you that this toolkit came from an excellent organization that's long worked for peace and justice for the people of Palestine. It's come from the U.S. Campaign for Palestinian Rights. It used to be called the U.S. Campaign to End the Occupation, but then was changed to the U.S. Campaign for Palestinian Rights. And they created this most excellent toolkit. So now I'm going to put the link in the chat for the toolkit and encourage you all to find your best use of it. I have not been able to print out the printed part that Teresa referred to, but I have been able to get a lot of the pieces, the memes, the images to use, language for press, and what to use for elected officials was very, very helpful. So,
well, I think one of my things, of course, that most of you know is strategic planning. So when you have a toolkit like that with chocked full of stuff, you have to tailor it to your community. You have to tailor it in a way that you're laser focused on getting something accomplished. And the first step, George, is always to start with the goals. So the goals that we want to achieve is to stop the funding. And so we know that between now and October, there's going to be lots of talk about funding. And I don't think Biden is going to back down on funding Israel. So what we have to do is work with the Middle East Peace and Justice Action Committee on how this toolkit can be advanced by them across the whole U.S. section, so that we're talking to each and every one of our elected officials, so that every elected official feels the weight of the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom, thanks to the U.S. campaign. So the U.S. campaign, I'm one of their friends and donors. So I get mail from them all the time. And I'm glad that this toolkit is out, because we have to be serious and use it. And the video from the BLC meeting on March 24, I'm getting it out everywhere, because every congressperson and senator need to hear from the women in the region who are telling about the horror. Now, some good news I heard today is the pressure is on Netanyahu to step down. They're demonstrating by the thousands in Israel, telling him it's time to go. I saw that coming, but I didn't think it would get here so soon. But Netanyahu is in deep trouble, and Blinken is going all over the world trying